regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of Lufkin Independent School District is called to order at 5:15 p.m. Notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Chapter 551, and a quorum of the board is present. You'll notice that we're missing two of our members tonight. One of them had a conflict and one of them had a family member that needed help, and so, five of us is a quorum to conduct the business, and so we're gonna move on with our agenda. Second on the agenda is the invocation. I'll ask Joe Caesar to close that for us. If you'll rise, and then we're gonna remain standing for the pledges.
Let us pray. Our Father and our God in heaven, we come to you in prayer, Father, just always grateful and thankful to be called your children. Father, we come to you in prayer, asking you for your blessing for this meeting. Help us make decisions that are in the best interest of our students, our children, our family, and our community rather than our own. And we pray for wisdom and guidance. Most of all, we thank you for Jesus. We thank you for the blood that he shed on the cross. In his name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
honor to the Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
All right, thank you. You may be seated. I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight. We are excited to have such a large group of people. We've got a full agenda. When you came in, I hope all of y'all saw our brand new Lufkin High School band truck that they take with them to all their performances. It holds all their gear and gets them all there safely. And so we're excited to see that. Glad the district was able to replace what was a very old truck. Our band director, Brandon Beavers, is in the back. So anyway, thank you for bringing that out so that we could see it. And congratulations.
Thank you.
I know it'll be well used. Just wanted to welcome everyone else that's here. Many of you are here because of items on the agenda, and we're glad to have your witness to the work that the school board is doing tonight. I'd like to turn it over for an introduction to Dr. Daniel Spikes.
Well, we've been waiting a long time for this, so we're happy to introduce to you our new JROTC instructor, Jamie Contreras. So would you please stand, Mr. Contreras? Last week, he met with our high school principal, and we had a really good conversation. He's ready to hit the ground running. We are super excited to have him. I did tell him that he could leave after this is done, but he said, no, I want to stick around. So he's planning to stick around to mix and mingle with anyone who wants to meet him after it's over.
Great, thank you, welcome. We're proud to have you here to lead this new program for our district. We're excited about it. So, all right, next up is item number 5, comments from the audience. Anybody in the community is allowed to register to speak to the board at our meetings. We did not have any community members sign up to speak to the board tonight, so we'll move on to the next item. We're going to take 2 items a little bit out of order because of people who have specifically come for those items. We wanted to move them up early in the agenda so that if they need to leave, they are allowed. First, we're going to do item number 12, and this is a discussion and possible board approval to 1, approve the publication of an advertisement for the sale of 2 Lufkin Independent School District real properties, being the properties at 101 Cotton Square, this building that we're sitting in now, and 701 North First Street, which is just up the road this way. And 2, to discuss and approve the terms of sale in the form of the request for sealed bids. And 3, to adopt forms for the earnest money contracts and special warranty deeds for the sales of the district administration building and the district education center that we call the DEC, and to adopt the resolution establishing the terms of the sales as presented. And I'll ask Mr. Wayne Haglund if he has any comments before the board before we take that action item up.
Just very briefly, Madam President, we have drafted the staff and I, working together, have drafted these documents in such a way so as to limit the opportunity and the amount of time for negotiations and back and forth and so forth on these sales, and hopefully they will occur promptly. But we're, with the board's approval of any of these terms, we're ready to hit the ground running tomorrow. So there were a number of issues, a number of topics that you all may want to talk about. I had gotten word from Alex, my former legal assistant, who is still here, that there might have been some other topics that the board wanted to talk about in terms of the terms. Basically, what I have done in the drafting that I did was set the terms as favorable to the school district as is possible and have the board approve. The reason I have the board approving all this is that when you get into negotiations on a sale, when you tell the other side they ask for something a little more than they should, you say, gee, I'll have to go back to the board. The board's already approved these terms and these documents. And it tends to intensify our bargaining position a great deal when it comes to that. So I'm open to talk about any of the terms that are included, but I will take responsibility for what's there because most of it I inserted.
Well, just to let the people who are here in the audience know, those documents were provided to the board to review ahead of this meeting. Anybody have any questions? I'll entertain a motion.
The one thing I would add is that state law requires that we accept the minimum that we can accept at this first attempt is the appraised value that we obtained from the professional appraisal done just a couple months ago.
Motion to approve.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the documents that have been presented to us regarding the sale of 2 pieces of real estate at 101 Cotton Square and 701 North First Street. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed to that? Okay, that motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here, Mr. Haglund, we appreciate that. So the next one that we're going to cover, we're gonna skip now to item number 10, discussion and possible board approval of an open education resources instructional material transition plan, and this will be presented by Shelby Slayton and Cindy Tierney.
In your board packet, you'll find our transition plan for OER, starting on page 112. This will look familiar to you because we submitted this document to you previously when we did the pilot program. So it's updated with including all of our campuses, K through Algebra 2, to use the open education resources, instructional resources, beginning next school year. We do have a few teachers here tonight that we would like to call on to speak to you about their experience that they're having with the pilot program that we're doing right now.
First up, we have Ms. Beth Childress from Hardy Primary.
Hi, my name is Beth Childress, and I have had the privilege of teaching at Hardy Primary for the past 27 years. I'd like to start by saying, I don't like talking in front of adults. You can give me 105-year-olds any day and I'd be just fine. But I'm standing here tonight because that's how strongly I believe in Bluebonnet Math. In my 27 years of teaching, I've seen many programs come and go. So I don't say this lightly when I tell you that Bluebonnet Math is making a real difference in my classroom. At the kindergarten level, math has to be meaningful, it has to be hands-on, and it has to be developmentally appropriate. And this curriculum truly is. One of the biggest shifts I've seen is productive struggle, both for my students and for myself. My students are learning that it's okay to wrestle with a problem, try different strategies, and explain their thinking. They're not giving up when it gets hard. Instead, they're learning how to persevere, collaborate, and grow. And I'll be very honest, this has taken me out of my comfort zone as a teacher, but in a very good way. Bluebonnet Math has challenged me to step back, listen more, and let students do the thinking. As a result, I'm seeing deeper understanding, stronger math conversations, and more confident learners even at the 5- and 6-year-old age. After nearly 3 decades at the same school, I can honestly say this program aligns with what we know that works best for young children. So even though speaking in front of you, adults, isn't in my comfort zone, I felt it was important to stand here and share how much this curriculum is helping our students. Thank you for supporting our teachers and giving us the tools to make a meaningful difference in the classroom. With that being said, every time I talk about Bluebonnet, I get chills. What I am seeing is unbelievable. I have mental math going on with 5-year-olds. Yes, we still have cubes. Yes, we still have, draw your picture, but we also have them doing mental math at 5. I get chills when I see it.
Thank you for your service. Thank you.
Next up, we have Ms. Catherine Todd, who was a 5th grade teacher at Brook Hollow.
I will go ahead and second her opinion. I'm not a public speaker. I love the children and all of the things. My name is Catherine Todd. 24 years into teaching. I would say I'm somewhere in the 18, 19 year range with Lufkin ISD. 5 years at Brook Hollow. I love to live on it. It is very overwhelming at the very beginning when 600 boxes shows up. Yeah, that's a lot. And every student requires 3 manuals per module to work in, and that's a lot. So my thought is, like, if giving the teachers time to process where you're going to put all those boxes, what you're going to do with all the manipulatives that come with it, because it is an all-inclusive, it is wonderful. It's got the hands-on tools that you start with that for, I know, our 3rd graders, 4th, and for us 5th graders, we start it just so they can see it, they can build it, not play with it, just build it and see where it goes and how it builds. I was a 3rd grade teacher, and then now I've moved to 5th. Seeing what we lacked in 3rd grade with the foundation of place value, which is a huge deal. We started, our first module was all place value, and it has paved a way for so much wonderful math learning. I think they've enjoyed it. I think they've learned it. 5th grade's a little difficult. They feel like they are already at the middle school. They feel that they no longer need to walk in the line, or they want to sit where they want for lunch. So education is I'm good, I'm going to socialize. But they are doing fabulous things with it. There's a lot of negativity on the Book of Faces in all the forums. And to be honest, I don't agree with any of that. I think that those are just friends that are scared of it and don't want to do their actual job. It's not to say that it's not hard, but once you get in it and you see it and you see the progression that your students are making, it is wonderful to see. But I love it. I think it's great. I can't wait to see what the 4th graders come in after having a set curriculum. Everybody's doing the same with the vocabulary. No one's choosing their own word walls. No one's choosing this, that, and the other. We are all doing the same, so it's going to be a cohesive transition. And I'm excited to see what the next year comes to me, because it's going to be new. They've taken it like a champ with a new curriculum, throwing it in different ways. I've seen the benefits to where they put the way they go about it. I'm like, well, that takes it. It works. It's easier for them, and I think it makes it easier for a lot of our kids. Even our special ed friends that are CMC, they are doing fabulous with it. We've got a great CMC teacher. We've got a great team that is always helping and always helping us plan, getting everything that we need, and doing all the things with it. So I think the kids are actually enjoying the math, because no one ever wants to learn the math, ever. It's too hard. But even though it takes 40 pages to do a problem, old school math, 1900s math still works. They just gotta see it. So, but I love it. And I appreciate y'all for hearing it.
Thank you.
So we wanted y'all to hear from the teachers, but we also wanted y'all to see how far our kids have come and how well they're doing with it. So we have a quick little video to share.
We're starting at what? 0. Always starting at 0. Ready? 0, 6, 12, 18, 24, is 3 less than 14? Oh, yes. What is 3 less than 10? Really? 7. Good job. What is 3 less than 20? Carla? Yes, good job. 17. All right, one more. What is 3 less than 8? Emily, what's another one?
You know, 9 plus 1 equals 10. But if you add 10 plus 4, so we can just go with, white goes with the blue one, so we can make 10. And these can be 4, so 10 plus 4 equals.
Good. I think that sounds pretty brilliant, don't you?
Yeah.
So, what a right angle looks like. Fantastic. Okay, we got a right angle here. What kind of angle is that going to give me? 90 degrees. Fantastic. Take it down to an acute angle. Fantastic. Take it to an obtuse. Fantastic. Okay, now take it back to right. Okay, show me what a straight angle looks like. Very good. Take it back to an
Okay, tell me about your number bond. Okay, tell me about the picture of the squares. Tell me the story of the squares at the bottom that you drew. Okay, so there were 3 train cars full and 4 cars. So your total train cars were how many? What was your total?
7.
Okay, and so 3 and 4 are your, and 7 is your, good job. Tell me what you just did, that's awesome.
I put 3.
No, you didn't use your cubes, you used your brain. How did you know that?
I put my hand.
I know.
Add 3 to add 5. That makes 8. We also would like for you to hear from our Algebra 1 teachers too at the high school, and Bailey Merrill is going to represent that group tonight. There she is.
Hello, I am Algebra Bailey Merrill. I've been in education for 16 years, and I've seen students from the STEM 8th grade middle school group in algebra, and I've had the advanced group in 9th grade in algebra, and I have academic this year in 9th grade algebra. So I've seen a little bit of all of what algebra could be. And this year, my babies have, or young adults have, come to me, and all I had to look at was their 8th grade STAR score. I mean, they were a blank slate to me, and they were on the lower end of what I was accustomed to working with starting out fresh in the school year. So with Blue Bonnet given to us a few weeks before school started, I did panic a little bit, think, okay, there may be some massive gaps to fill. I'm not sure if they're coming with some math trauma, or I just don't want to be at school, maybe chronic absences, but for whatever reason, it appeared that they had kind of fallen through the cracks a little bit through the system, because we're getting them on the end of their educational journey, and seeing the little ones at the beginning of their education journey that's very cute, very sweet. So we're on the back end of that, where all of a sudden they're facing the reality of, if I don't pass my STAR test, I won't graduate. If I don't pass my class, I won't graduate. And it's hitting them full force of, I have to make this happen for myself so that I can go on and graduate and be a productive human. So
They started out very, I'm not gonna say resistant to it because they weren't used to being given materials like that. They're not used to carrying around textbooks or homework books. That was new to them. When it was new for me, we had a little bit of adjustment with classroom management. How are we gonna make this work? Going from all of a sudden I'm at the high school and I have more independence, and now my teacher's giving me things that I have to carry around. I thought I left that behind in middle school. So there was some pushback on that, but very quickly they started getting more and more confident because Bluebonnet, from the very beginning, it builds slow little pieces. It starts with the big ideas to build the foundation that my kiddos were lacking, to be honest. They did not have that strong foundation to just jump into it, because Bluebonnet is grade level material, and mine were not grade level. They were far below it, but they have very, very quickly filled the gaps tremendously. It has been encouraging to me, after being in education so long, to see them confidently wanting to learn something new every day, because that's not something they're accustomed to. They come to school to see their friends, eat lunch, and run around. They're not there to learn. The kids that come to school to learn have grown so much. They are starting to realize that they are capable of so much more than they even realize. And those are the conversations that we're having with these kids on the high school end. You thought you couldn't do this because you've never passed a math test in your life, but look at what you're doing now. You went from making 11 and 19, so now you're 72, 78, huge growth. And they're getting more comfortable and confident in talking about, what do I want to do after high school? Do I want to go to junior college? It's opened up their eyes to, I may actually be capable of pursuing something that I didn't imagine I could do. And I'm not gonna say Bluebonnet was it, but it taught them little bits and pieces, because it's scaffolded beautifully, where it starts out big picture and then it breaks it down into little tiny chunks. So confidence here, I've got it. Okay, now let's build on that confidence here. Okay, I've got it. I took a test. Hey, I almost passed that test. So now it grows and grows and grows, where they can use those skills collaboratively with each other. It's not just plug and chug math. It is, and I'm not gonna call it discovery math, because I don't think it's that either. It's more of them taking ownership of what they're learning and applying it and using it in group settings. We can still do the scavenger hunts and around the rooms. You're not stuck with the book. You can take the book and the curriculum and you can grow it to what your kids need. My kids, some of them need to get up and move around. So on those days we do group projects with what's in the book. I have a class grade that cannot get up and move around. So they rotate. And they know the drill now. We've got the systems in place. You rotate, corner A, corner B, corner C, and they're still doing the group projects, just in a different way. So it's not a script. I think Bluebonnet kind of has a bad reputation of being a script you have to follow, but I have not found that to be the case at all. It's more the kids. The kids are directing their learning, and I'm actually talking less and they're talking more. So that has been an interesting change for me this year. Yeah, they're doing math presentations. They're getting up and they have 5 minutes to present domain and range. Show us what you know. And these are the kiddos, they would be horrified to talk in front of their peers. But they're doing things like that now because they're confident in what they've learned. And it's because they have been able to grow their confidence slowly, where it's not all of a sudden do everything you can on a STAR test or on a CBA or on a benchmark. It's, okay, I've come this far. How much further can I go? How much further can I go? And it's been such a joy to watch them realize that they are capable of learning far more than they realized more than they thought they could. They just kind of decided, math's not my thing. I'm never going to do it. I've never been able to do it, and now they're doing it. And we're seeing that on the opposite end of the kindergarten, first grade, where it's all fun and new, and we get the back end of, math, I hate this class, but they're engaged in learning something new every day, and that is fun to see, even with older kids. Thank you.
And that's one teacher we'd like you to hear from, and this is a middle school teacher who's not currently using Bluebonnet, but I'd like her to speak to kind of her thoughts as someone that will possibly be using it next year and what she thinks and some of the things we've been doing, maybe to help our teachers feel more comfortable moving that direction. Making curriculum decisions is huge. It impacts our teachers in such a powerful way and our students that yet we take it so seriously as we should. And so I want Starla to speak. This is Starla Phillips, a little bit to that.
Hi guys, most of you know me. I've taught lots of your children. Starla Phillips, been teaching 12 years. I'm at LMS, been at LMS the entire time. It's my home. Bleed purple like nobody else, I feel like sometimes. So a group of us from the middle school went to Southwest ISD in San Antonio to see Bluebonnet in action with a school that had been using it for a little while. We went to 3 different middle schools. Several of them had some of the same, they were the closest that looked like us, that we didn't have to go as far to get to them. So that's why we chose that's why they chose San Antonio to go there. But we got to see 3 different schools, very different, to be able to walk through and actually observe. That was really neat. So number one, I do appreciate the work that was put in for us to be able to go do that, because I think it's super important to have, number one, your teachers have got to be on board. We've got to be able to put in the work to be able to see what we need to do. And if we can't see that, then we don't buy in. And so I really do appreciate the fact of the conversations that have been had this year, for what needs to happen and what kind of direction we're headed. So to be able to do that, that was huge, because when we don't get that, we feel like we're not heard. And so that was very neat to go, walk the halls and see different classrooms and see the kids doing different things. Gave me some ideas for sure, on what to look for and how to possibly implement. I'll be honest, I've been the negative Nancy on the backside. I've not been the one that's been in support of it. I got to see a couple of people in action, who I felt like they were my spirit animal, because they had the same thoughts that I've had this whole time. And she was like, you just need to see it work. You just need to give it a chance. Let's see what it does. You can hear the teacher voice already. Her door opened and I knew that I needed to go to her classroom and see her teach it. Because she was just like me, it felt like. And she told me that she was very hesitant too, but now she is really on board. I'm not there yet. I'm sure I can get there. I'm willing to try, willing to do, whatever we need to do. I just feel like it's really hard for change for teachers who've been doing it for a while and who get results. That's been my drawback to something that's been so uniform. We've had that at the middle school for years, and we've been able to be active participants in that and get to decide what together we think works. And I feel like it's worked well. We don't always get results that we want, but that also changes with the kids. You're also, I know everybody doesn't like to hear this, but we're also phasing out those COVID gaps. They are on the out. This year, just listening to my kids when they came in the first couple of days, and they knew multiplication again. In 7th grade, we still couldn't multiply. I would sit there for 5 minutes, well, not 5 minutes, but it felt like it, to do, 6 times 7. I mean, oh gosh, I should have done that. Look what I did, see my kids rubbing off on me. And just they could actually do it within 10 seconds, 5-10 seconds, they were rattling it off, and I went, okay, the tides are turning. And so I feel like we're getting that shift already, because there were huge gaps. Everybody knows. There were huge gaps. I love the conceptual part of it. I feel like I was doing a lot of that already. I've previewed the books, and I've looked, and I've definitely seen some of the same exact lessons that I've been doing. Just didn't realize, all in one thing. I do have a few reservations about, we push everything so digital now, because that's what the state has pushed. The state has pushed everything to be on the computer, to do everything digitally, to take their state test online. But now it seems like we're pushing back the other way. Paper pencil absolutely works, yes. But I don't feel like at the state level it's aligned right now. I don't feel like that you can ask these kids to take these online tests, but then now we're pushing a curriculum that wants to go back straight conceptual paper pencil. So I do have a little bit of reservation about that. I know that's not a whole lot we can do about that. We can do whatever we can to help remedy that. But I do think that's something to think about, that we just don't, it just seems odd that we're pushing back another way. Not always a bad thing, but it just seems very different. I do like that, like I said, we've all been asked our opinions this time, to be able to decide how we're gonna do things. And we've already kind of had some things in place talking like, hey, if this is implemented, what are we gonna do? We saw some teachers using some iPads. Y'all, little just iPads. I was so excited. I started looking around like, hey, can we have these? Because it was, I mean, the teachers were taking their books, they were putting them and casting on their Promethean boards through their iPads and writing, and like, this sounds silly, their pages moved. And if you've never worked on a Promethean board, half the time it'll freeze on you, you can't move it. Oh, it moves, it's great. So I do hope that if we are headed in this direction, that we can get the tools that we need, and that we've got to have the time to process. That is important. Teachers need time to do a plan sooner rather than later. So if this is where we're headed, please put something in the schedule, put something in the works that teachers can have productive time to sit down and look at where we're going, the curriculum, that we can still make it partly our own. Also, I think it is going to be very beneficial for our new teachers. So I am also our 7th grade math lead, been that for a couple of years, and I've had new, fresh faces almost every year. It's hard for me to keep the same teachers every year. And I mean, maybe they just don't like me. I don't know. Maybe it might be me. Maybe I'm the constant here. But no, it's hard. Middle school's hard. It's some of the most trying years of, I mean, the kids, the parents are calling me, what do I do? How do I do this for my kid? And so the teachers, the same thing. They feel the same burnout sometimes. But I know that's where I belong. That's exactly where I need to be. But anyway, I think it will be very helpful for new teachers. We're getting lots of teachers fresh that have never stepped in the classroom. So while it is designed to be some type of a script, yes, your advanced teachers, those teachers are gonna be able to take it and make it work. It's gonna be very beneficial too for your new teachers who come in, they have no idea what vocabulary needs to be used, how do I teach this to kids? And I mean, even though I've been doing it, I've been trying, there's no way for me to effectively reach all 6 of those teachers all the time for every lesson with every word. It's impossible. I've tried. So I think it'll be very helpful for them to have a resource in their hand that they can go back and look, hey, this is how we can teach this. This is where the vocabulary comes from. And hopefully being able to get together, and after we've all kind of reviewed everything, to be able to say, okay, this is where they're going with this. This is why, this is the way they teach it and why they teach it that way. So I think it'd be a helpful teaching tool for our teachers as well. So.
Thank you.
Do you all have any questions for us or any of the teachers?
Non-consumables, like, is it things we have to print every year, or are they delivering
We
every year?
provide them in workbooks.
And is it consumables K through?
It is, and the state knows, we've given them lots of feedback, and so have other districts, about trying to consolidate some of those so that they're not so cumbersome for the teacher. So they have taken that feedback and they are looking to do some things differently. Don't know when, but they are receptive to that feedback.
I will say, as a parent of a Bluebonnet student in algebra, there was a turning point in October, November, that it finally all started. Everybody calmed down, was getting used to it. There is a lot of material. Those books are big. Of course, we were used to that growing up, but they're not. But there are also those parent guides are helpful. And we might need to make them available in print form for the first little bit, because just going through that and getting the understanding of how we're going to teach this different than the 1900s math is totally, it was helpful. I'm going to use that, Catherine. Thank you.
1900s math still works.
It does.
It's
shocking the kids can't believe we can do it, but but those materials, because Ms. Watts has provided that to the parents through Remind, and it was nice to have that.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
Not everybody probably looked at it. I'm the nerdy one that did, but yeah.
Well, I don't have a question, but I have comments. about just to express an appreciation for the process. Changing curriculum, and I'm speaking to those of you who are educators, we realize and understand that is a huge ask in the district for a big curriculum change. All grades for a subject as important as math, and it's in a tested area. And so there's a lot of work that went into this. We looked at it a while ago, backed up and said, we don't have time to do this well on a broad scale. And so that's when it was decided to do the pilot programs. And so those campuses, willingly took on and took on something new so that the whole district could benefit from the work that all of you did this year. And that's very much appreciated. We know it was extra work. And I'm really interested in hearing the comments from y'all about the analog learning, because I have been reading articles within the last few months about different ways that it's being studied now that all digital is not helping our kids learn. Look at all these heads nodding at me. Wow. And I cannot remember which country, but it's over like in Scandinavia. And I don't remember which one. I read a pretty lengthy article about how in that country they're getting fantastic learning and testing scores, and every one of their students is a complete analog learner. They are not allowed to do any work on a computer until high school, and then they are allowed to do it, but they learn analog all the way. And so I was really interested, because this is already something that I had been seeing, and then to hear the comments from y'all, that kind of reinforced the things that I had already read. But anyway, just from the school board, thank you for everybody in this room that helped to make this happen where we got today, with a recommendation from our curriculum leadership for us to consider adopting this district-wide. This made a big difference in helping us know that a recommendation means we're headed in the right direction. A lot of the work was done. All of y'all were asked, what do you think? How's it working? What do we need to do? What else should we consider? I feel like this is great leadership from Dr. Hockenberry at the top all the way down to listen, so that together we come up with a great decision for our kids. So,
Anybody else have any questions?
or comments?
I like old school math. I like heavy math. I grew up with books and Trapper Keepers, and it was good to hear. It was good to hear from both sides, from teachers who are doing it, especially at the early ages, and the impact that it's having. And it's also good to hear from a skeptic. I appreciate that. It is extremely helpful in making this decision, and to go out and see it and hear the feedback from another district who's doing it. It sounds like it's a good plan, and I will tell you that I wasn't necessarily a believer in it too, because I don't like gimmicks. I feel like great teachers, put great teachers in front of our kids, and good things are going to happen. So it's good to hear that. So thank you.
I would encourage Starla, if you have any of your state or local days saved up or banked, that your testimony in Austin in January or February, whenever they get back together. I mean, it makes absolutely no sense that a kid would take a high stakes test in math on a computer. It doesn't make any sense at all. And so they need to continue to hear from people like you in the room, how this, it doesn't make sense. And so.
And it makes the decision harder on everybody else to make the change when it doesn't align.
Yep, and I agree. Thank you.
Make a motion to approve.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the Open Education Resources Instructional Material Transition Plan. That is quite a mouthful.
It is a mouthful.
Anyway, so we have the motion and a second on the floor. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed to that? That motion carries. All right, any of y'all who came for this, that have other things you need to do this evening, please know that you are welcome to leave if you need to. We understand. We've got some other business for the district to attend to. If you want to stay, we welcome that, but we understand if you need to get home and tend to the rest of the things so you can be there Friday morning for the kids. Okay, so we're gonna circle back up to item number 6 now, and this is gonna be our public hearing regarding the 2023-24 Texas Academic Performance Report.
I think there's a typo, it's the 24-25.
That's what I was wondering, I thought, well, I guess we're a year before that. Okay, good, 24-25 paper report.
Who's got better faces? All right, we're gonna co-present tonight. Cindy and I are gonna kind of tag team this to go over the paper report with you. And I just want to remind you as we start that this information.
You might even turn on Kelly on the right.
I don't think it's on.
Yes.
Okay, so just reminding you guys, this is a report of information from the previous school year, and we actually shared all of this information with you throughout the year or in August when we received it. So it's not new information, but it's the final version of the information that comes from the state. Most of you are familiar with this process. Do they have the link to the paper report also? It's in your packet on one of the slides. I'll show you in just a minute. But as we walk through this, these are the pieces we'll highlight. But as you know, there's some other elements to the paper too. Here's where you can find it. You can find it on TEA's website. You can actually find any district, any campus across the state that you want to. Look there. Janae has already posted all the paper reports to our website, so you can find them there. And then we have provided a hard copy bound for each campus that anyone can look at that at their home campus also. Okay, so we're going to walk through a few different pieces from the paper.
Okay. So when we look at our teacher demographics for last year, we see that there are a lot of trends that are very similar. But I want to point out that our African American percentage in Lufkin is actually higher than the state average. However, the Hispanic percentage is quite a bit lower than the state average. When we look at teachers' years of experience, we have some similar trends, but if we take a look at beginning teachers that are fresh into the profession, we are lower than the state average. And then on the other end of that, with teachers with over 20 years of experience, we have a greater percentage than the state average on that. So those are both great trends. When we look at our student demographics, we have similar trends in most areas. However, we have a few areas that are higher than the state. African American, at risk, and economically disadvantaged percentages are higher. And our percentage for emergent bilinguals, or EBs, is actually lower than the state. Attendance rates for 24-25. This data is a couple of years old. It's always a year behind. And it includes students in grades 1 through 12. And when we look at the comparison of Lufkin and the state, we see a lot of similarities, and the white population is a little bit lower in attendance than the state average.
Okay, the next part of the paper report addresses our dropout rate. Let me get to my slides here. And you can see on the slides that compared to the state, we are a little bit higher than the state. I do believe that our Hackney Learning Center is going to have an impact on these numbers. We have already graduated 38 students from Hackney Learning Center, and we're only in February of the first year that started. So we're really excited to see the impact it has on our dropout rates. These dropout rates are only for the 23-24 high school kids, and we do regroup some of these and regain them through our longitudinal data also.
Can I have a quick question on the dropout rate? If a kid leaves Lufkin ISD and gets homeschooled, is that considered a dropout or a transfer?
It's a transfer.
Transfer, okay.
Yes, sir.
They have to fill out the form.
As long as we have the correct
We
paperwork.
have to have them sign off.
In the last year, we've also been working on that process to ensure those forms are done at all the different campus levels, to try to make sure that those kids are coded correctly once they go to homeschool.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and this is our class of 2024 graduates and our graduation rate for that class. As you can see, we are above the state in almost every one of our sub-pops, and we're excited to see that. That is a trend that we have seen for the last 5 years on the TAPO report. Our next slide addresses our advanced graduation rate. These are our students graduating with that foundation high school program with the endorsement or at the distinguished level. And you can see this is another area we're very proud of, our numbers versus where the state is. We're at 94% of our students, whereas the state's at 87.8%. And that's an ongoing trend we've seen over the last few years on our table also. The next section is a review of our STAR scores, and it's data that you've already seen. These are the STAR scores that were used to calculate our accountability ratings that came out back in August. We'll quickly review those with you.
When we look at third grade reading STAR performance, you see the state average, the district average, and then all of the different campuses at the 3-5 level. What I want to point out here is the difference in the STAR scores from 24-25. So when you look at approaches, we went from 64 to 71. We stayed the equivalent of 40 at the meets level. And then we went to from 15 to 17 at the master's level. The 2026 district target for meets was set at 47%, and it would be a 7% gain as compared to our 2025 scores. So, and we have some campuses that are performing above the state level. Anderson is equivalent to the state average at the approaches performance level. Brandon is above the state average at approaches and masters. And Slack is higher than the state at master's performance. Okay, moving on to fourth grade. Our trends from 2024 to 2025, we went from 78 to 73 in approaches, 45 to 41 in meets, 18 to 16 in masters. The district target for meets is 48 for this year, and that would be a 7% increase. And Brandon is higher than the state averages at both meets and master's performance levels. Moving on to fifth grade reading. 24-25 scores, we were equivalent at the approaches level. We moved from 50 to 55% at meets and 20 to 27% at the master's levels. We increased in 2 of 3 areas there. Our district target for meets is 60%, and we are just almost there. Brandon and Bracalo are above the state at the approaches performance level, and then Brandon is also higher than the state at the meets and masters performance levels.
Okay. Let's look at middle school a little bit, and just if you recall, our middle school did jump from a 74 to a 78 for our accountability, and we had a 9% point increase in our closing the gaps this year based on our 25 scores, and so we're really proud of that. You can look at this and see we do have a lot of work to do to get back to being in line with the state scores. We have set some pretty lofty goals for our reading language arts department at middle school. We are looking anywhere from a 3% gain to hit that meets all the way to a 7% gain for 8th grade. So the reading language arts growth, even though it's not shown on this, I just want to mention that because that played a key factor in the increase of our accountability at middle school, and closing that gap. That 9% increase really did come from the language arts department at middle school. So we have a lot of work to do there, but we also had a lot that we were proud of for last year. Okay, let's look at English 1. Focusing on the meets column, that's where we set our targets for the year. So you can see the state's average at meets versus where we are for English 1 and English 2. So we are looking at making some pretty big gains there too, to work towards that 60% that we're working towards. We're looking at a 4% gain for English 1 and heading to a 2% gain for English 2. And this next school year will be the last year for the English 2 test. I'm not sure if you guys know that. But for the new STAR that's coming for 27-28, our high school students will no longer take the English 2 STAR test to graduate. Okay, let's talk a little bit about math.
Okay, so when we look at the meets level, you can see that the state was 46, the district was at 33. Our target for this year is 40, which would be a 10% increase. And we have some work to do here, but we are continually working on that, and we have Bluebonnet at Brookhollow that's going to help us with that. I also wanted to point out that SLAC is above the state average at the master's level. In 4th grade, the district target is 44% for 2026. That would be an increase of 9% for this year. Brandon is higher than state averages at the meets and master's performance levels. 5th grade looks pretty good, or much better, and we stayed equivalent from 24-25 at 72 at the approaches level. We went from 43 to 45 at the meets, and we showed 16 to 20% at the master's level. The district target this year is 50%, and that would be a 5% gain. Anderson and Brandon are both above the state at approaches and meets performance levels, and Brandon and Costin are higher than the state at the master's performance level.
Okay, let's look at middle school math. So our middle school math scores are very comparable to what they were in 24-25. We are trending about the same, or 1 to 3 percentage points better than we performed the year before. So we have not had any backslides. But you can look at this and clearly see that we have a lot of work to do in math from 3rd grade all the way through, when you see the high school slide in a minute, which again is more data that supports us moving to the Bluebonnet. To my knowledge, this will be the first time we have a unified curriculum from K up to Algebra 2 for math that is the same curriculum vertically and aligned from down the bottom to the top of our students. So that's exciting. We're looking at a 40% goal at meets for 6th grade, which is going to be a pretty significant gain. We are set our target to gain 9% there, and all the way to 8th grade, you can see that we are sitting pretty low at 24% at meets, and we have set a 12% target. So there's a lot of work happening in the math department at the middle school. Got my glasses in my hand too. Algebra 1, you see the same trend that we see at middle school. We have set the target for us to increase 11% in 1 year in Algebra 1. So we are piloting the Bluebonnet there, so we do feel like we are going to see some big gains for our Algebra 1 team.
All right, y'all, in 5th grade science, we saw tremendous gains. We went from 51 to 63% at approaches, 20 to 33 at the meets level, and 8 to 13 at the master's level. The district target for this year is a 42%, which is a 9% gain. We also had lots of areas that were above the state level. Brandon and Costin were higher than the state at the approaches performance level. Brandon and SLAC are both above the state average at the meets level. And then Anderson, Brandon, Costin, and SLAC were all higher than or equivalent to the state average at the master's level.
And just to remind you all, the ones that have been on the board for a while will recall that we did have a science adoption a couple of years ago, and this data is reflective of us implementing that new curriculum. You can see it in our scores, the impact that curriculum has had, and our science scores, although they don't play into the domain 2 and 3, they did have an impact for our campuses in that domain 1 and the student achievement. So we're really proud of what we're doing in the science department.
Can I ask a
Sure.
very quick question? And I think I've asked this question maybe once or twice before, so I apologize.
That's okay.
So looking at the number, masters for our district, 13% meets 33%. Are those different kids, or are the 13% also counted in the meets? And same thing with approaches. So
They are counted. So for accountability, the master's kids count for us 3 times. So
Gotcha.
they're in each bucket. So
That's
that's
what I
what you're
wanted to make sure.
recalling.
Thank you.
Look, that is very impressive.
I do listen.
So for our 8th grade science scores, we are projecting and targeting an 8% gain here to bring us up towards that 60% that we're working towards in 3 years. If you look at our biology scores, we are at the 60% target that the district has set for us to be at meet. So of course, we have set a higher percentage that we're working towards with our high school biology team. Okay, 8th grade social studies. Again, this test plays into domain 1, into student achievement. You can see where we are relative to the state. And again, we're at 28% meets. We know we've set that long-term target at 60%. And in order for us to accomplish that, we are looking at an 11% target for this particular school year. Okay, U.S. history. You can see again at the meets level, we are almost there at that 60% district overall goal, but of course we are going to continue to strive for higher, and we've set a 3% increase here also. And let's finish with our tribute to our CCMR and all the work that's going on there. The interesting part of this is we're about to show you data from 2024, but you know last week, Ms. McManus, we talked about CCMR when she was here the other night. We presented on it, and she actually presented the mid-year review for our 2026 graduates. You have already previewed what our 2025 grad is. So remember again, this state is lag data. This is our 2024 class. So you've seen this multiple times. And Ms. McManus, you said that you expect how many out of our 2026? Everybody but?
It was 11 out of 461.
11. So you can see the progress we have made even since this 2024 data. But even though it is back data, you can see that we really are doing extremely well compared to what the state is producing. And that is the ultimate goal for our students, is that we have them ready for what's coming next. And then we're required to present this data to you for each year. I have been just adding to the slide so that you have all the years on one slide. This is data from the National Clearinghouse, and what they do is they take our class of 2025 grads, but it's backdated. Is it the 25 grads? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. And they looked at them in the fall to see if they were enrolled in college in August of 2025. And there's our numbers that you can see. Any questions on that? Not all schools participate in that. The majority of them do, but there are some that are not accounted for in those numbers. That concludes our presentation. Does anyone have any questions for us? Okay, that concludes the public hearing. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Okay, with the conclusion of that report, we're going to continue on with the agenda. Item number 7, our administrative reports. All of these coming out of information only. Initially, Dr. Hockenberry, do you have any comments from the superintendent's office?
I just want to follow up and make some additional comments to the work that was put in this year to arrive tonight, to hear the testimony from our staff. I want to especially emphasize that, and y'all have already mentioned it, the collaborative piece and the engagement piece that took place in giving teachers opportunities to practice, explore, talk, express their opinions. So that speaks to the culture of the district, and culture matters. And it's important that everybody has a voice in our big decisions. And I'm very pleased with the process that was led by our curriculum department this year. I'm very, very pleased. And I appreciate everybody for doing that. That's all I have.
I have a random question, but so the capstones and the Bluebonnet capstones in the 9th grade, do we anticipate that they're working on beyond?
Yeah.
We're going, we had geometry and algebra 2
Yeah, I
also.
was gonna say, there was more.
It's
There's
ready.
more.
Yeah, there's more.
We'll be using it also.
It already exists? I thought.
Yeah.
Yep,
So-
no, it's ready.
Okay.
And those teachers have been previewing it and are ready to go with it. They have been able to see what the Algebra 1 team is doing, so they're very excited.
Okay, I thought it ended in 9th grade. I thought it ended with us as well.
All right, thank you. We're gonna go now to Keith Wethington, Business Office Report.
Alright, the business office reports begin on page 35. On pages 36 through 42, we have the revenue expenses through January. We have the investment report through January and the tax collections report through December. So one little notation, we've been tracking the tax collections the last couple of months and they've been down a little bit, but I went this morning and pulled our January report in to see if it was getting better, and we are within a couple % of being on the average. So we have seen a huge upswing in collections. They're putting us more along where we normally are at this point in the year. So if anybody has any other questions, we'll move on. On pages 43 and 44 is our Safe Cycle 1 and 2 grant update. We are going to bring a few more purchases today to y'all, but that is going to finish up the last of those grant funds. So, once all those projects are completed and closed out, we'll be filing the final expenditure reports for those to get the grants closed out. On pages 45, we have updates for the capital outlay list. So we have received quotes from Bobby Batch Builders and Merit Roofing for the Brook Hollow Roof project. We are just looking through those quotes to decide which vendor we're going with, so that project should be starting here pretty soon. And then we have sent the measurements for the Dunbar and Slack stage curves to those vendors and are waiting those quotes back to get those projects started as well. We are working through the final stages of the approval for the design for the Brook Hollow STEM, digital sign. So that project also will be starting here pretty soon to be ready in place for the next school year to start. And then the maintenance box truck is still set to be delivered in early March. And as we've all seen, the van truck has been delivered and is parked outside. And so we're excited to finally have that piece in and get to see it in all its glory. And if there's no other questions, that concludes our reports.
Do I have a question on the
Yes.
driveway? Are we still on for spring break?
So
I keep,
right
I
now,
have people asking,
yes.
is why, and I've got.
So we got another update on that this morning. GLS, they are in the final stages of closing out that, receiving those bids in, and so they are gonna start reviewing it on the 11th, but with us being on spring break, it's gonna basically push that Monday after, and we'll get in there and be able to review all that with them.
Okay.
So we're getting close to the point where we will actually start that project and get it going.
Before the end of the year, school year?
It's gonna depend on the timeline that they get through whoever
I
they're
just have to
selecting.
have an answer, because she's tired of me saying spring break.
Say something down.
Yeah.
All right, thank you for that report. Now we're gonna turn to Dr. Matthew Pariseau with his report on the Innovation Office.
Thank you, President Gay. This item can be found on, starting on page 46 of your packets. We are excited to share that in the fall semester, a group of campus as well as district leaders came together to review the grant opportunities that was being offered through TEA's Learning Acceleration Support and Opportunities Grant, also known as LASSO, Cycle 4. From those efforts, we were awarded 5 grants totaling over $1.1 million. You can see on page 47 the outline of those grants and the types of supports that we will receive as a district. A big chunk of that, almost $1 million of that, will go directly to support what's called the LIFT initiative, and that will support the implementation of the new curriculum and coaching for teachers and support directly with our school leaders and district leaders to ensure everyone is supported and ready to move forward and our kids' outcomes are growing. We also received 3 grants tied to the Grow Our Own. And the 5th grant was for us to have a year of planning as we expand our virtual learning program and turn that into a full 6th through 12th grade opportunity for students to partake in learning virtually.
Any questions or comments? Good job,
This is
everybody.
This is a big deal.
Yeah, that's a lot of
If we can
fun
pause
work.
right, this is a big deal, okay? We received 5 out of the 6 grants we applied for, and this, it's a big deal, did I say that?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's great.
Yeah.
When will they give us the award amounts on the other 3?
So in May, it's a new grant opportunity, and so they're still finalizing the Texas Education Code elements, and so they're actually up for comment right now. And so as soon as those are finalized, then they'll release in May a calculator, and we'll be able to calculate how much funds that we'll receive. And those, instead of a NOGA like we typically get through other elements of Texas TEA grants, we'll actually have an allotment tied to that and receive it directly.
I did have a question regarding Grow Your Own. Is there any restriction or limitation on what university or school they choose?
So that was part of our process as we were going in and the planning, was identifying our partners. And so in addition to our Lufkin ISD team, we also reached out to partners including business and Angelina College and Sam Houston, SFA. All of those will be partners with us in those 3 Grow Our Own program grants.
Also, you have to predetermine those for your application.
Well, congratulations, everyone. Great work. Okay, we're down now, Administrative Services Office report from Dr. Sparks.
Yeah, my reports are next in the packet. Informational report contains all recent hires, resignations, vacancy information, and on-the-job employee injuries. Next, I have the support services report, and I just want to say that we launched the Evolved Weapons Detection Systems this week, and it has gone so smoothly. So I just want to give credit to Ms. Nava, Ms. Gonzalez, Ms. McManus, Mr. Kraft, Mr. Maharaj, Josh, and Heath for all of their work, because I haven't had any headaches whatsoever. Now, they may have had headaches, and so I apologize in advance, but no calls about big issues or whatever, and no parents calling about flow or any of those types of things. So I couldn't be more proud of the team and everybody who has helped to try to make this thing work. So.
Well, would one of y'all out there give us just like what it's like? Maybe Ms. McManus?
Are you sure you want me to talk?
Yes.
So when you come, so first of all, I need to thank for the purple barricades, because it makes it look really nice. So it's all school spirited. So at the high school, you have the front, school spirited with the safety system. So at the front, you walk in, and we right now have, it's called an outside source. So we've got someone, and it's a teacher that's wearing a backpack backwards, because if you wear your backpack backwards, it's easier to grab your binders out. You have blue items, you have binders, laptops, umbrellas, and eyeglass cases. We're also, those are the known false alarms. We're also using metal cups just to check those, shake them on the pass-around table. So students kind of have a reminder, or they do have a reminder, as they walk into the building, and then you go straight. There's just a little pathway. It's lit. It's green on one side and blue on the other side, just with the lights, and so there's plenty of lighting there. There's a pass-around table. So the false alarm items, the blue items with the cups, you put on the pass-around table. There's a staff member that takes it here. They move it right here to the student to be able to grab after they've gone through the system. You just keep walking. There's no stopping. You're just walking through. There's a little rubber mat. Students pick up their item. If it alerts, I keep walking forward. If it alerts, there's a box that shows up on the iPad that the original person, the flow control is seeing, and then they go to the secondary station, and we have assistant principals at the secondary station, so it shows where the item might be. We go through and we look through the bag, and lots of items that we found are umbrellas at the bottom of their bags. And so then we take the umbrella out, the student goes back through to make sure that it doesn't hit again, and then they continue on to class. One thing that we did notice after day one is we needed packing tables. So as they're taking their binders out, and trying to move forward and pack everything back together. So we put new tables out to the other side where they can go to the table, pack their stuff, and then move on. That happens at the auditorium for us, the front entrance, and the bus entrance.
How many staff that in the morning?
We have 17 right now. We're going down to 14 after spring break. And that's the pass around table, that's the flow control, and the secondary table. And then also at the high school, we closed down the upstairs. That just allows everyone downstairs. But what that also did is it allowed for more staff to come downstairs to monitor the hallways as everyone is downstairs. It's gone well. Students were prepared. In fact, Jason with Evolve, which is our rep, where's Clarissa? Clarissa really should be up here talking. Actually, I have an opportunity to say something about Clarissa now. So Jason with Evolve told us, middle school and high school, it's the best rollout he has seen. I said, are you just saying that? Saying that, Clarissa said the same thing. Are you just telling us that? He said no. He said it is the best. If not the best, it's very close. But he was very, very pleased with our rollout, which brings me to the opportunity about Clarissa. She has done a phenomenal job. This is a large undertaking, and I told Evolve this just recently this week too. Evolve provides a lot of sources for you, but when you're not in a school to a school being able to implement something like this, Clarissa has just done such a phenomenal job. Everyone see Clarissa, stand up. She never is frustrated with my million questions and my million requests to make everything smooth and better for our students. I send her messages just so I don't forget, and we follow up with them. She's just tried to make everything so easy and perfect for our district. So I'm actually glad for this opportunity because I really want people to know how good of a job she's done.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Yes, I did have a question. So since we've implemented the detectors, have we seen a drop in vapes, and have students tested or tried the system? Has anything been missed? No system is perfect.
We've not had anything tested specifically by students. I mean, we've had umbrellas, we've had binders. Actually, Evolve with the staff being there, there was it looked like a graphite necklace to me. It was at another location than where I was at the time. So they took a picture, and their engineering department was going to go through that. There was something the other day that I was checking the backpack, and it was just a metal tin of pencils. But you open it, you make sure that there's nothing in there. They go back through the curling iron. There was a curling iron, some tennis rackets. So there's just common items that are just really good to check. You know, when the students give you their binders, it needs to be open. Flip through, so it's not just a binder that you're not looking at. Because it's a pass around, we know it's going to go off, but we want to make sure there's nothing inside the binder as well. The cups are shaken. So they're not all looked in, but different cups might be looked in just randomly, just so students are not sure if you're going to look at their cup or not.
So, Mr. Caesar, we might go back to old school math, but we may not be promoting trapper keepers anymore.
Trapper keepers work too.
The metal's gonna definitely alert us.
Jason told me there's a binder you can actually purchase that will go through, but it's like 45 cents more. So
Maybe trapper
keepers.
Or my He-Man lunch kits. Remember those metal lunch kits?
Yeah, I'm sure that's not gonna go through.
through.
Well, I will say, the middle school has trained them already because Madeline was getting out of the car, water bottle out of the backpack, I was like, oh, there we go.
And I really felt like that would happen after day one. Students have really had good attitudes about it. I asked a couple of kids, even just on day one, what they thought, and they were like, oh, it's fine. Jason also made that comment, like, your kids they're good. They expected it, they knew what to do, and there were no problems. So it's been really good. I was very, very pleased. Again, the purple looks great, and Clarissa's just done a really good job with all parts.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move to item number 8, which is the approval of our consent agenda. And so we're going to go through these items with the various reports first, and then we will entertain a motion. So I'll go first to Dr. Hockenberry.
The minutes from the last meeting start on page 51. Any questions? No. Happy to respond.
Okay, and then we have Dr. Spikes, professional report.
There's just one professional hire there we need for you to approve, and then the retirements and resignations.
Okay, and then Mr. Weathington, you've got the next 3.
The checks over 3,000, invoices over 10, the monthly check registers on page 61 through 74. If there are no questions, we'll move on. Starting on page 75 through 78 is the budget amendments for the month we're requesting you to approve. There is no net change to the budget, but we do have some items moving between functions. Primarily, the largest one you see there are due to some technology contracts that no longer are being classified as long-term debts that we have to track, so we're moving those back into their budget.
And I think we had one over 50
So-
that is undefined, I think, right?
So there is an updated report on there for the over 50s. We have 2 additional pieces for our door replacement and our access controls that we're requesting y'all to approve. These are, like I said, these are additions to the projects y'all approved in the previous month, but because the previous were over 50, we're taking these items to y'all as well, just to add to the total amount of those projects.
Okay.
And these are the last pieces of that safe cycle 1 and cycle 2 grant.
Okay. All right, several routine items were grouped into a single consent agenda. Any board member may request that any or all of the items on the consent agenda be removed and considered as a separate item. If no such request is made, all items on the consent agenda may be approved by a single action of the Board of Trustees.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as it's been presented. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed to that? That motion carries. Okay, now we're moving on to item number 9, discussion and possible board approval of an update to the 25-26 student code of conduct. And we'll turn to Dr. Spikes for that.
Yeah, since we're now requiring our students to go through weapons detection and metal detector systems, we had to update our student code of conduct as well as our student handbook. The student code of conduct obviously has to be approved by you all, so we're asking for your approval to those changes.
Okay.
It's just the changes on pages 5 and 6, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the updates to the student code of conduct as provided to us this evening. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? That motion carries. We're moving on to item number 11, discussion and possible board approval of a resolution authorizing the district to submit an application to the Office of the Governor for the Active Attack Response Equipment Grant Program for the fiscal year 2027. Dr. Spikes.
Kick it over to Dr. Heath.
We are bringing forward this resolution to y'all, like it says, to allow us to submit an application to the Office of the Governor for an active attack response equipment grant. This is part of being able to apply to that grant. We have to have a signed resolution for y'all, or from y'all, so we're asking y'all to give us that authority. So what we are applying for is additional ballistic shields and breaching tools for the police department.
You said ballistic shields and what?
Ballistic shield and then breaching tools.
Oh,
So
yeah.
tools to breach doors if they need to.
Okay, we talked about this at the safety meeting, didn't we? Okay.
By law now, we're required to have one on every campus.
Right.
Oh, I approve it.
Okay, can I get a motion? Okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second to, I've lost my place on my page. We have a motion and a second to approve submission of an application to the Office of the Governor for the Active Attack Response Equipment Grant Program for fiscal year 2027. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed to that? And that motion carries. Item number 13 is a closed session. We don't have need for that tonight. And so we're gonna move on to item number 15 is a board request for new information. An individual board member may request a report or new information in a regular board meeting by majority vote of the board. Any items to bring before us tonight? Okay, with that, we are adjourned at 6:35 PM.